All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 33. This week, it was Tyler's pick, and he picked the classic, The Blair Witch Project from 1999. Uh,
God damn, you're the same age as this movie.
I am, yeah. Damn, putting my birth out there.
Oh, sorry. You're roughly the same age as this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. You were born 4 years before this movie. Oh, that would still be. But anyway, don't worry about that.
I was doing the math in my head, and I was like, "This movie, that's not that old."
Yeah.
Oh wait.
But anyway, the Blair Witch Project. Uh, this is my second time watching this movie, and boy, I gotta say, the second time around, I didn't like it as much as the first time, but I'll still give it like a 6.5. What are you gonna give it, Tyler?
Okay, I was waiting for like a somewhat of a segue or a throw to, when you're like 6.5. All right, see you later, guys.
Yeah, that's the whole podcast.
First time I saw this movie, it freaked me out. It's probably like the 9th time I watched it. We're not getting into spoilers yet, so I'm gonna give this movie. First time you watch it, it's a 7. Second time you watch it, it's a 4.
And this is your 9th time watching it, so
Yeah.
do the math on that one.
Well, I'll explain a little bit after
Yeah.
the spoiler or whatever, but
Yeah. Well, hey, we don't gotta wait no more. Spoiler warning for the Blair Witch Project. If you've never seen it, which I feel like most of you probably have, but
yeah.
if you haven't seen it, we're gonna ruin everything about it. So don't get mad at us. So let's begin. First off, I want to talk about just the fucking hassle it was to, every week I tell you budget and what this shit made, right?
Yep.
So you always hear that this movie is like the most profitable movie of all time, right? And they always say, yeah, $60,000 budget, and it made 248 some odd $1 million worldwide. All right, and you're like, man, that's pretty good. But then you start looking at more stuff, and I'm trying to find it right now. But then they end up doing like, so the original shoot was like $50,000. Okay, this ended up rising to about $750,000 after the studio did some additional post production. The studio then acquired the movie rights for $1 million, and then they spent an additional $25 million advertising it. So, don't get me wrong, like it still made a ton of money, but this whole 50,000 to 250 million, that's not right. I just wanted to put that out there. There was other there was other factors involved. But
Yeah, but that's not as catchy, right? They want to throw you. They're like, I turned shit into gold.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess you can say the original production was only 50 grand or whatever. And then after it was ended, then the studio wanted to go back and do more stuff. So I guess you could say that, but
I think they say that this movie cost 50 grand to make,
yeah,
and then they don't consider all the other stuff like part of the creation.
I guess not.
But at the same time, that's like, say you invent something and you're like, yeah, it only cost me this much to make. It's like, well, I mean, your experience and know-how costs money, right? Like,
Yeah.
say Elon Musk, whatever. I don't know what college he went to, but he's like, I'm a self-made millionaire. And it's like, well, what about all that money you spent on education and
Yeah.
Everything else? But I don't know. It's still a rags to riches story.
Left
60
me a
grand.
small loan of.
Yeah. Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't bother looking into if this guy ended up doing anything else afterwards. The guy who made the Blair Witch Project. I don't think he did, but shit, he might have.
it's Sam Raimi's son or whatever his name is. Right?
Oh yeah.
No, I made that
It's
up.
not. It's Guardo Sanchez or some shit.
Guardo Sanchez.
That's his name. I don't think you know Eduardo. Eduardo.
Yeah, like how did you not know?
Listen,
Anyways,
don't worry about it.
how you not know? Shut up.
Yeah. So anyway, the Blair Witch. Oh shit! Hold on. He made Oh fuck, dude.
Blair
Oh,
Witch
never
Project
mind.
2?
He was the producer on Book of Shadows, the Blair Witch
Oh,
Project 2. But he
we haven't gotten.
directed. Yeah, he directed VHS 2. I never watched either of those. So anyway, shout out to him.
I thought you watched Books of Shadows.
No, I didn't watch VHS. That's another one of those like super scary movies or whatever. But anyway,
Anyways,
enough of that. Oh, so the Blair Witch Project, Tyler. Classic story. 3 students go to film a student film / documentary about the legend of the Blair Witch up in the Black Hills Forest. And they go missing,
no,
never to be seen
this
again.
isn't the first found footage film, right?
No, a lot of people credit Cannibal Holocaust as the first found footage movie.
Don't even bring that word. Don't even mention that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be the most successful, right?
Yeah, I think after this one comes out, then it's not too long for Paranormal Activity and all the other ones start rolling out.
Paranormal Activity is so good. I wish I would have picked it instead.
Yeah.
But man, okay, this movie suffers from all found footage movie problems, and it is a while to get into the movie. Like I made me some biscuits. And
Okay. Yeah.
And I sat down, turned the movie on, and I had me like a nice little plate of food. All the food was gone before they were even in the woods.
It only takes them like 15 minutes to get to the woods.
There's this whole shit where like they go pick up Mikey, and he's like at his house, and there's like a weird part where they're in like a hotel, and the girl starts drinking and stuff, and it's like, what is this? Like, why is this in the movie?
That hotel part, by the way. So, a bit of bad. They don't have any like lines for this movie. It's all they get like a 30-page thing, being like, okay, this is sort of what happens. But everything they say in this movie is improvised. It's you just go with the flow. Like they don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. Apparently, they gave him this camera or whatever. In that hotel room, they film for 95 minutes straight, and it's just like them drinking and like getting drunk and shit. And so that like 3 minutes you see in the movie, there's like a whole nother movie of just them in the hotel room. But anyway, that was a little side note. Go ahead.
Other side note.
Okay.
Well, not other side note, but I might be alone in thinking this, but these are like, I'm not gonna say they're the worst actors, but these are the most unlikable people I have ever seen on TV.
Yeah, that's a very common like criticism of this movie, is they're real unlikable.
Like they were like lost in the woods, and I was like, good. I was like, the world's a better place.
I hope you never find your way out.
Yeah, and like the whole dynamic was weird. So the lady's making the documentary, and her buddy's there with the camera, and then they hire Mike.
Is like I guess maybe he has another camera or in sound. Yeah.
They keep talking about a DAT the whole movie, and I'm like, what the fuck's a DAT? Like, they don't ever tell you what it is.
But yeah, Mike is just like a hiree. Like, they meet him. You see the first time they meet him in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is like, I don't know. It was...
Yeah. Which I think Mike is interesting coming later in the movie. Where, spoiler alert, at one point, Josh goes missing. They just wake up and he's gone. And I remember thinking to myself, like, it would have been a lot easier for them to do the random guy's gone. And Mike's sort of been, we'll get into it, but he's sort of been, like, poking the bear this whole movie and he butting heads with people. So the easy thing to do would be to have the two that know each other and are buddies to still be alive and then Mike on. But no, they, like, take out the dude who's, like, the friend and they leave the two that aren't getting along very well together, which I thought was a nice little thing if you break it down like that.
I have a random question.
Okay.
And I feel this way every time I watch this movie.
All right.
But there's like and they say something about it later, but
okay,
there's like a attraction or boyfriend girlfriend like feeling between the two
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and then randomly like 5, 6 through the movie,
Uh-huh.
the guy's like, "My girlfriend's gonna miss me if I don't
Yeah.
call her,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "What?" I was like, "This
That
is weird."
Yeah, that goes into another thing where originally they wanted to have like a relationship between those two, like developed throughout the movie, but then
Yeah,
they decided that it was too like you see it in every movie, so they were like, oh, whatever. But then if you get into theories, and there's a lot of theories about who does the killing, who actually dies, all that good stuff.
yeah,
There's a big theory about how Josh, the guy that's friends with her, apparently they used to be in a relationship, and like they ended things on bad terms, at least to him, and that he like remained friends, and he hires Mike, and this is all an elaborate thing to just kill her in the woods. And but anyway, I just like reading that stuff. I like all the hint.
that doesn't make no sense. You just go
They
out there alone
right?
and hit her
Yeah,
over the
you
head with
don't
a
need to.
rock. You know, like why are you making it complicated? I've done this hundreds. Oh,
I like to
so
believe that because they do the thing where they're interviewing people or whatever, and the one guy starts talking about, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was whoever was like murdering kids up in the woods. And he's like,
yeah,
yeah, you make one kid stand in the corner and then attack the other one, and then he would kill he didn't like people looking at him while he was doing it. And then obviously later you get the iconic shot of Mike in the corner and the camera drops. And I like to believe, I'm like, oh, it was the guy all along. He was still up in the woods.
well, that's. I mean, and that's the end of the movie, guys. But
That is the end of the movie. Yeah.
so I feel like they tried. That's like my one criticism of this movie
Okay.
is that it's called the Blair Witch Project, right?
That is. Yep.
And they talk about the witch for a good bit of the movie,
Uh huh.
and then that guy randomly tells you about that,
Yeah.
about the guy who killed 7 kids and everything else, right?
Yeah.
It can't decide what fucking story it wants to tell.
Yeah.
So even
That.
now, you don't know if it's witch, if it's the kid,
Yeah.
the guy. Like,
That interview thing. Once totally like what you're saying. It's like it's just sort of thrown in there randomly. It's because they really like the ending. The filmmakers, they like the ending they had, but they found that some audiences found it confusing. So they did a post production where they just threw in that interview to sort of make it like, ooh, was it this guy?
yeah.
And that was their sort of healing balm to that whole ending scene, so they could keep it in the movie.
But it gave me like a haunted forest vibe, right?
Yeah.
That like there's the witch and there's this weird crazy guy and all this other stuff and Coffin Point and all that.
Uh huh.
But like they talk about the witch and Coffin Point, but
Yeah.
then there's 7 graves and I was like, well, that's for the 7 kids.
Yeah, they really like make it point more towards that killer than the witch,
Yeah.
because they have the house where you get all the kid handprints everywhere.
Yeah.
You get the guy in the corner. You get the scene where they're in the tent and the kids start laughing, which gave me legitimate chills. Even
Yeah.
all criticism aside, sitting here listening to it, and it's just like a little over in here in the corner or whatever. And it gave me chills. And so you get like the like kid ghosts or something, and so it almost like stop thinking about the witch. It's like we should be worried about this guy. But
It like I said, like I know this is all after the fact, right? Like the movie when it came out made a gajillion dollars.
yeah,
A lot of people liked it.
a lot of people hated it too.
Well, it's like I said, when I watched it, you watch this movie and it's all this build up,
Uh-huh.
and then you get like 15 seconds at the end
Yeah.
of not even really anything.
Uh huh.
So when I was saying I watched it like 9 times, it's because when I watched it the first time, I go, what the fuck was that? So then I went back and watched it again, right,
Yeah.
to see, and I was like, I still don't know, know,
Uh-huh.
and then just showing it to people and watching it whenever it's
Yeah.
like watching it, but it's a very convoluted and weird movie.
Yeah, it's like I was watching it, and at one point like there's just a lot of just shots of leaves and trees. And it was like the filmmakers just had no budget, so they were like, somehow we need to make a movie where we can just film the ground and make it creepy. And like I guess they succeeded in that, but it's just yeah,
The amount
there's
of
just a lot of
time
scenery shots.
where they have the camera on but no light, and I'm like, how'd you find the camera?
That's a
Like,
yeah,
why would that light not be on from the
like
get go?
every time noises happen at night, it's them like it's just a dark screen and you just hear
Yeah.
noises.
It's
Which
kind of cool at first, but then
yeah,
after, like, because this happens like 6 nights in a row or whatever,
yeah.
I was like, okay,
That's
what
an
is it?
that's another thing is I talked about how it's all improvised and they don't like know what's gonna happen and all that stuff. But then a lot of the stuff that you read later, it's like, well, how didn't they know this? Because like, take for
Yeah,
instance the scene with the kids laughing or whatever. So apparently they were just sleeping because they would be out there by themselves. They would have a radio and they could talk to base camp that was like a couple miles off. Um, but they were sleeping in the tent, and that was the directors or whatever coming up and like pressing on the tent, and they had boom boxes set up throughout the woods that were playing the laughing. And I was like, how didn't you notice these boom box? Like it almost seems too good to be true. Like how did you not notice this stuff was happening?
well, I think they don't know what's going to happen, but they know they're going to be messed with.
Yeah,
So it's
that was
like you
part
see
of
the boom
the.
boxes,
Uh
and
huh.
you're like, okay,
Yeah.
and then but you don't know it's going to have kids laughter or
Yeah.
whatever.
They had to sign a waiver before they did this movie saying that the filmmakers had a right to mess with their head and shit. Which shout out to them. Also,
Pretty sure it
what's up?
doesn't hold up in court,
Yeah,
right?
right. Like
Like this time he chopped off my arm, and they're
yeah,
like, just sign the paper.
yeah. Also, I said how it's cool that they took out Josh instead of Mike or whatever first. Um,
Yeah.
totally the plan was to get rid of Mike first, but then Josh and like what's even the main lady's name?
Uh, uh, I was about to say something really bad, but no, I don't know.
But anyway, they just weren't getting along, and like they were
Lisa?
arguing.
I don't know.
Maybe. They were arguing more than her and Mike were, and it was just getting annoying for the filmmakers. So they just surprised, like, told him, "Hey, wait till they go to sleep and sneak out." And so it was supposed to be Mike to disappear. They just were tired of them yelling.
I mean, if you watch this movie and you don't get tired of all of them yelling,
A lot of yelling.
then you should be like
Yeah,
a professional.
the part where Mike just starts singing like the national anthem or the Star Spangled Banner and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I get like, oh, we're going crazy, but which I would that part sucked. But then the part right after that, because then they're laughing because the girl got her shoes wet, is my favorite part of the movie, which we can go into favorite, least favorite, which is Mike. They've lost the map a while ago, and it's like causing tensions to rise, and then Mike just starts laughing, and he's like, you know what the funny thing is? I kicked that fucking thing in the river like 2 miles ago or whatever.
You know what? I kicked the. I'm sorry, it's fucked up. It's fucked up, but I kicked that fucking map into the creek yesterday. It was useless. I kicked that fucker into the creek.
And they were like, are you fucking kidding me, Mike? And I remember when I watched this for the first time, I was like, I can't believe this fucking guy kicked the map in the in the river. It was yeah, it was really good. I like that.
I just get mad because even when they had the map, it didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah.
And the lady had the compass, so like any
Yeah.
forest you're in, it's like, okay, I'm going north. I'm just gonna keep going north.
Yeah.
You'd get somewhere, but they kept going in circles anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's them being dummies or if it's a magical
yeah.
forest.
And then my least favorite sort of has something to do with that is they walk all the way, they get to the log that they crossed in the very beginning of the movie, and a tree is falling down over the log, and they like, haha, it's the same log, and they're all sad and shit, right? I was looking at it, and I was like, you could just swim across that motherfucker, like, or walk. Like, I was like, you're not stuck here, like.
You've been stranded in the woods for 6 days and you're
Yeah.
let like the smallest body of water, not even the
Yeah.
size of like a road, like.
And now, to be fair, there's a good chance they cross that river and the evil magic would still keep them in the forest. But at that point, You think
You
I'm
pay
worried
for
about
safe
getting
and
wet?
sight,
Yeah,
yeah.
like what was that shit?
It's like, guys, this is my last pair of socks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Pretty bad. Okay. My least favorite part was the acting, which apparently wasn't supposed to be acting,
Nope.
but it was the girl, which I don't know her name, the woman, the lady.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't pinpoint. Like at first she was trying to be like brave or strong for the
Uh-huh.
group, and then she just broke because that guy was like, making a movie. I'm making
That
a
was
movie,
I like that scene where he's like,
and
you're all alone. No one's gonna help you. That's your inspiration."
yeah, yeah. And like you look at her face and she's just like, "Mm."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, and she I can't say that. Never mind. But just made an unlikable character more unlikable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I like how there's not a monster, but you're still scared. Like there's not a jump scare, there's not
Uh-huh.
anything like that. You know what? I'm gonna say this right now.
Okay.
The Bigfoot movie was better than this, found footage wise.
You're crazy.
I am 100% not. It was.
You're
Do
crazy.
you
That
remember
movie was.
the raccoon scare?
Yeah, I remember
With
it wasn't that scary.
lies,
No.
lies. I have video evidence of you being scared.
I don't think
But
you do. Were you in my house when I watched that movie?
I'm always in. But like,
Always have.
I pop up behind you.
Yeah.
But
Like, oh!
but like, it's just a different way of being like, here's a scary monster, creature, whatever, an unknown.
Uh-huh.
You don't know what it is. Well, Bigfoot movie, you kind of know, but like, it makes it scary. And when you don't see it and it's scary, that's like the best kind, right?
Yeah.
If you pull it off. This one, I don't know. Like, you kind of. What was the blue gel?
I don't know. That was weird.
It randomly came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
And it was like, they were like, oh, that marked Josh. It's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, where
Yeah,
okay, man or witch, where'd they get this blue gel? Blue doesn't occur in nature, right?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, in gel, who knows? But like,
Yeah.
what would a crazy witch have to do with you looking right in the camera?
I was,
the
I always look, I always look down at the screen, and I was like, what if I just like look at the camera? So I'm like looking at the audience. Hey, audience.
I thought you were looking me in my eyes. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the blue gel. But so that came out of nowhere, and I get it, and it messed with his stuff, and then he was the first one to leave, vanish or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But no one ever talked about blue gel.
The blue gel, yeah, it came and went.
But like, I wish there was more. Like, you know how they woke up and there was like the little rock temple outside their thing?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's to represent the 7 dead at the coffin point, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it doesn't, because they just made another one.
Yeah.
And everyone's still alive. So
Yeah.
there goes that whole theory.
Yeah, what was that? I read it was teeth, but it didn't look like teeth because she opens up that bundle of twigs that has Josh's shirt
It was
or whatever.
like the back teeth, like it was a
Oh.
molar. I
thought it was like fingers.
No, it was teeth. I had a tooth problem, and they pulled it and put it in or whatever.
Hmm.
And it looked just like that. And
Yeah.
it's like when you get one of the molars or one of the ones in the back, they have those big roots on them and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew exactly what it was when I saw it, and I was like, "Oh,
Well, that's good. Yeah, like I've watched all 3 of the Blair Witch movies, and in the reboot one, spoiler, you see the Blair Witch, and like it's kind of goofy looking, and like sometimes it's just it's better if you don't. Which they had, you were totally supposed to see the Blair Witch in this movie when they're running out of the tent, and what's her face is going, what is that? What is that? Or whatever. They had a Blair Witch lady standing over here. The dude was supposed to pan over and film it, but he didn't catch it. So then they just kept it like that. But
well, it's like when you read a book and you read about a character.
Yeah.
Let's take Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
Right.
Okay.
Just because it's it's not relative. But anyways, and like one of the main characters of the book is a guy named Matt. I could draw a picture of Matt.
Matt.
You could draw a picture of Matt.
Calthon.
Kahlo.
Like
Whatever.
yeah.
But we could all draw a picture of Matt,
yeah.
right? And you put it on a table, and you flip them all over. None of them are going to match except for maybe like the hat,
The hat, yeah. And maybe the spear or whatever.
That's the beauty of this monster, right? Is because you never see it, so your worst imagination makes the worst thing, or the most scariest thing to you.
Uh-huh.
So it's really good, but then they add the random serial killer guy who kills kids in the woods.
Yeah,
and you're like,
is it a serial killer?
Yeah. So it's
don't know.
Well, what's scarier? I mean,
yeah, like is it scarier just a dude out there watching you the whole time, or like this supernatural being that you don't see?
Well, it's like, who's scary to you, Jason or Leatherface?
Jason's scary to me.
Right? Because he gets shot 300
That's
million
the thing,
times
is I feel like push come to shove, I could stop Leatherface. But I don't know if I could stop Jason.
Just a man,
Yeah, just a man. Like
heavy set dude too, like
I could outsmart him. I mean, I'm not that much brighter than him, but
let's not get carried away. All right, maybe
okay,
we'll stick with running. All right, we'll stick with running.
I can't do that very well.
Lick my plate.
Anyway.
But that's the thing, right? You add the human element, and it like kind of ruins it. So,
can we talk about some of those interviews? There's a part where they interview like this lady holding like her kid, and she starts telling the story, and I don't know if the kid was just upset or if they made him do it or not, but it ended up being better than it ever could have been, because the second she starts telling the story, the kid starts like covering her mouth, and he's like, no, and like it's almost like the kid was like, you're not supposed to tell this story or whatever, and like I think that was something that was purely a fluke, but I was like, man, they got that shot, like that would never happen again.
So I think it's 100% fluke.
Yeah,
but in my mind, you know how like animals can sense when you like don't feel good or you're sad.
Yeah, and they talk about the kids and all the kids are laughing. It's like that kid fucking knew.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So it's like the kid could tell that bad stuff would happen. I mean, I'm going on a tangent here, but they say like kids like that, not like the kid was like autistic or something, right? But
okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, like a special kid.
Mm-hmm.
But they just say that like kids, with their imagination or whatever, they see and sense and feel more things. And I thought you were pulling out another beer. I was like, good lord.
No.
Good lord. You haven't bought that bottle in ages.
Yeah, this is old.
But like, I don't know. This movie is... I think it's lost its luster, though. I think... But you'd never be able to make a new one, right? Because the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, like, the whole thing about this was all the viral marketing. And, like, this is real. They went missing. No one knows where they are. And, like, it made people go to the Black Hills Forest and, like, look around and... like, oh, we gotta find the Legend of Blair Witch. By the way, all that shit totally made up. The directors just made that shit up, but the actors apparently bought into it, and so the whole movie they were like, oh, this is pretty creepy. This is out here where the Blair Witch is, and they were like, yeah, that's not real.
Like, even the stories the town people were telling were just stupid.
Yeah.
Like, the one guy was like, well, there was this lady named Annabelle who went missing.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later, she was on the porch. No one knew what happened.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's letting people go.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
It's that, and then the one guy is like, I saw a misty figure over by the forest. And it was like, well, was it a girl or something? He was like, no, it was a gray mist coming up out of the water. And it was
like, shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah, he's like, you dumb. Anyway.
Like, they're like fishing buddies. And I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. I just like all the, like, once again, it's just like, all these people are plants. They just had them go around the town and start interviewing people. And then they would plant the people that were supposed to have these stories. And it's like, how are they supposed to know? Oh, go down to the creek where these two old dudes are
I hate it because they're there fishing together, so they're obviously buddies. Now, if me and you ever go fishing and someone asks you a story about how you broke your foot and like I had a different take on it, I would never be like, I hurt, you know, like and you'd be like, shut your fucking never I'd be like, no, Ray, you know you missed, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be much more cordial, right? Like it wouldn't be
they have that they have that one line where the lady's like, you believe in the Blair Witch? And he's like, no. And she's like, or no, do you believe in witchcraft? And he's like, no. And she's like, you a religious man? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, alrighty then. Like, that made me giggle.
Let's talk about the crazy lady they interviewed.
Yeah.
Who they obviously make to just seem super crazy. And she has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. Like, the only time it ever comes back is when they find those stones. And they're like, oh, what did the stones mean? That lady told us, but I just thought she was crazy. And
I don't even remember what she said about the stones.
I don't either. I was like, yeah, we're in the same boat. I would have been just with you.
I was looking at her hairdo, and I was like, this chick kind of hot, you know?
Yeah. And once again, though, horror movie, like, law, if someone is crazy and they have a story about something, that's the one you listen to, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But, yeah, but anyway.
The special effects in this movie, though, were top notch. I give him. I don't know if that house in the woods. I don't know. It's not a cabin. It has to be a house.
It was a house, yeah.
I don't know if they built that or what, but
apparently it was still there.
A pretty spooky place.
Yeah, it got torn. It got torn down a couple years ago.
Just the way. I mean, we've been in like old buildings at night, and there's just a creepiness to them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like that whole thing is like it's like, you know, you spend all this time in the woods and you're like, I'm fucking sick of woods, and then it's like a house, and then once you get in the house you're kind of like, man, fuck this, I want to go back in the woods, you know. Like, yeah, which
it's like, oh, look at these bloody handprints. Let's look around.
Which, once again, they actually had to reshoot this one, but the whole time they're just telling Mike just to keep going everywhere and like make sure that what's her face is like as far behind you as possible. And then when he gets down to the basement, they're gonna put him in the corner, and there was some guy there to tell him what to do and all this shit. And I think like the girl like got a production dude in like the shot or whatever, but the legend is like the whole time she's just hyperventilating and she's like scared as fuck because she doesn't know what's happening. And so then they had to reshoot it to get the ending.
See that lady ruining the movie and everything.
Man, I think she's the only one I knew by name, Heather Donahue or whatever. Oh, she's a writer.
Oh. That explains it.
That's probably, yeah.
But I don't know. Like, when this movie came out, it was top notch. You watch it now and you're just like, why don't they have a cell phone?
Why don't they have a cell phone? Yeah.
I like how they're out of cigarettes and they're on the like 5th day, and then randomly the guy's like,
randomly, yeah, like randomly, because the one guy wants some cigarettes and they're like, we're out, and then like the next scene, the guy's like, they're smoking a cigarette. I'm like, what?
Now, me myself, I'm not a smoker.
Yeah.
But one thing I know is you always know exactly how many cigarettes you have and where they are.
Apparently these guys didn't.
Yeah, fucking amateurs. So.
All
right.
Okay. Oh yeah. New segment. Is that what you're leading into?
Yeah, I was good.
I don't know what we're gonna call it. So if you remember Tuck Talk from, what was the movie? The Lighthouse. Tuck Talk. My dad gave yeah.
It was the one before The Lighthouse, I thought.
No, because I remember just him turning it off and being like, well, that's time I'll never get back. And I was like, oh man. But
so I'll not reveal my lovely mother's age.
Yeah.
But I got my mom to watch this movie.
His mama watched the movie.
My mommy watched this with me.
Yeah.
And she wrote, I told her to write a couple lines of a review. I have probably 2 paragraphs here.
Listen, I appreciate the commitment.
She started off saying, "Hey, Tyler." It's weird.
That's good. That's wholesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right. I was like, I'm your son.
Uh-huh.
You crafted me, but
Yeah.
all right, let's use my government.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what this is just us getting a much older person's view on a horror movie.
Yeah. Her first time seeing it, I
Her
think,
first time
right?
seeing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna add some stuff to this after I get done.
All right.
But and I'm gonna read it verbatim.
Okay.
So these are the words.
All right.
So it starts off again. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah, this is on Facebook. She sent me that. So, like, I don't know who else it would be, but, the picture of the name. I watched the Blair Witch movie. If I had to rate it, I would give it a 2 at the most. It was totally boring to me. It should have been titled 4 Angry Kids in the Woods. First of all,
there's 3.
There's 3 kids.
Okay.
But I went, all right.
Uh-huh.
Most of the movie was them fighting and arguing with each other. There was one part that I thought was pretty creepy, and that's when Josh went missing, and they started hearing someone screaming in the distance.
That was pretty creepy.
They found a little package with some bloody body parts in it, and totally just ignored it. No one said what it was, what they thought it was. I don't even know if the girl showed it to the rest of them. The rest of them, it was one other person.
Yeah. I don't think she did either. I think she kept that to herself.
All in all, I was so bored I about fell asleep. That was it. That's the end.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. So
4 angry kids.
But I mean, I watched it with her, so she audibly gasped when Mike kicked the map in the thing in the river. And there was something else I was going to talk about, but I forgot what it was.
Oh no.
Huh. But yeah, it wasn't. It was something. Like, I watched it with her. She didn't jump. She didn't.
Yeah.
There was a point where my cat jumped up. And so, like, there was nothing like on edge about it. But yeah. So there's the.
There you go. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that was good. We'll have to get her to whatever the next one is.
Well, she doesn't watch bloody movies.
Yeah. So
yeah, so that's a lot of ours out.
There's a part where.
Oh, I remember what it is now. So she had a theory, and she didn't mention it in the thing at all. Right. That the haunted woods, or the magical woods, was intentionally making them more like crazy or irrational and like moody, and she was that and that. But then later on, she goes, "Why do they keep yelling?" And I was like, "Well, you answered this earlier."
Yeah.
So, but I never really picked up on that. I just thought that natural, like, just irritation, right, of being stuck with someone for that long and not being able to just be like, peace out. But so she did say that. But that's what it was that I couldn't remember.
There's a part where they get lost for like the 3rd time or something like that, and like they don't know where they are, and finally, like, I think some shit might have went down the night before too, where they heard some trees cracking and shit.
So yeah.
And Josh and Mike at this point are like, "Fuck this, let's go home." They're like, Mike has one of my favorite line deliveries where he just walks off a little bit. He just goes, "God damn it, fuck!" He just starts yelling.
The map is in my pocket. You're gonna have to wait a second. You want to see the map?
God damn!
Shush. If we keep our heads together, we'll be just fine.
Fucking bullshit!
And it made me laugh real good. And so they decide they're going to peace out. But then they end up having to camp that night still. And this is when more cracking and stuff happens. And Josh has a line where he's like, "Please tell me it's 5 o'clock," or something like that. And the lady looks and she's like, "It's 3 o'clock." And he's like, "Fuck." And I was just going to add that's me every day at work. I'm like, it's 5 now, right? And you're like, "It's 3. And I'm like, "God damn it."
So there's a relatable point in this movie. So me and Tom went to a couple haunted places.
We did. Maverick was there too. That's actually where he is right now. He's lost.
Yeah, he's dead.
He's dead. The witch got him.
But there's a point where the lady's like investigating, and she's like, "Come on, Mike." He goes, "Fuck that, nope, no, no," and he's just in the tent. And he won't come out, and he's like, "I'm good." So we went to this like haunted place, and Tom got out of the car. He's like, "Let's go." And I was like,
yeah, you're like, no,
"I'm good. No, I'm good." And I was like, "I'll keep the car running."
yeah.
So
that Mike thing, right? That leads into the whole Mike and him were in it together, and Josh, because that whole movie, he's in the tent. He doesn't want anything to do with anything. He's staying there. The end of the movie, this house pops up, and he's like, "Let's go in the fucking house." And he runs in. He like starts going down. He's like, "I'm going up to the top and shit." And they're like, he purposely is just confusing her as to where he's going, and stuff. Which, you know, it's fun to make theories like that. But
so Tom,
what's up?
If you were abducted and I heard you screaming in a house, I would 100% run in and try to save you.
That's good.
Now, if we met some random dude on the street, like say we hired a new guy at work, and he was abducted and he was screaming inside a house, we'd be going the other way.
Like, why was this dude so?
I would not charge in. Yeah. I'd be like, all right, here's what we do: we start a fire and we just throw it in the house.
Yeah.
So,
there's another line I liked I'll throw out there where the lady's like, "Listen, it's real hard to get lost nowadays in the United States, or whatever." And Mike's like, "Well, we're doing a pretty good fucking job." And that made me laugh.
It's very hard to get lost in America these days, and it's even harder to stay lost. So we have that on our side. What?
Well, we're doing a pretty goddamn good job of being lost.
Well,
because at this point,
so
there's a bunch of like they kept pointing out that it was in America. It's pretty hard to. And I'm like, why do they keep? Like,
I don't know.
What a weird sense of patriotism.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
There's a part in this movie, so we talked about how like sometimes it's better if you don't see what's out there. There's one part, it's when they're running away from the kids laughing, where it's pure dark and they're just running like straight forward or whatever, right? And I remember thinking to myself, if they had the budget to have something come out of that dark just straight at the camera, I would shit myself all over the bed, like, or I was in my chair, so that doesn't make sense.
Like it's. First of all, it's two of them, and the girl's holding the camera, I guess, and Mike's in front of her.
Yeah, and you see Mike get farther and farther.
Yeah. Now, if they would have had something run in between them, right to left, right?
Yeah,
Like, say it blocks Mike out for a second, and then it moves, and you can see Mike's outline again. I'd be like, yeah, that'd be a little Parmesan cheese on top of this delicious spaghetti, right? Like
that's the one instance where I was like, man, if they had something right there, ooh.
But they didn't.
Yeah, no.
They suck.
Because they suck. Let's see. Here in Josh's camera. There's that part where she's like, "You want to go east or west?" And he's like, "Oh, never mind." Patrick Mahomes needs toe surgery after the Super Bowl. After, yeah, they're making sure they put that. But he's
what it is he's got like his toenail, and then there's like a lump, and then it's more toenail.
Anyway, but yeah, and he's like, "Well, who is the bad witch? The Wicked Witch of the East or the Wicked Witch of the West?" And she's like, "The Wicked Witch of the East or whatever." And he's like, "All right, we'll go west." And I was like, "Ha, that's pretty funny." And then you look it up and you find out that both of those were bad, and it was like the Wicked Witch of the North or something that was the good one. The East was like the one that got crushed under the house. Spoiler if you've never seen Wizard of Oz.
I've only seen it with the Pink Floyd music. Now you ruined it.
I'm sorry, dude.
I didn't even know they had
I haven't watched Wizard of Oz in years.
Let's keep it that way.
I don't know. I watched it like a year ago with the Pink Floyd thing though, but I don't think that counts.
Yeah, I don't think it does either, but. That's the same way I watched it.
Yeah.
I don't. It didn't matter. They went north or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they didn't work, and then they went east, and it didn't work or whatever. And I think if anyone's out there trying to kill people, it's the lady. Like she reminds me of the type of journalist to where they can't find a story, they just make one up, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like she doesn't find the story, she creates it or whatever. So
I enjoyed her like professional voice where she's like, "This graveyard, 20 bodies," or whatever. Made me giggle when she was doing that.
Yeah, that lady was professional. What do you?
She was, yeah. I loved
So-
I loved how shitty the camera were. Like when they're talking and you can hear the wind hitting the camera. I just thought that added to it. That it was just such a shitty camera like they were using.
I didn't understand. Like, I guess Josh is going crazy, but he's like, I see why you like looking through this camera. The world isn't real.
Uh-huh.
This is what you want it to be. I was like, it's just a camera, bud.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you've been using a camera this whole time.
Yeah.
And then they give you that thing at the beginning where he's like, it's not marked in feet. She's like, it is. It's right there in feet. And he goes, no.
Yeah. You're like
And it's
meters
like, okay, so
or whatever.
yeah, and it's like, why are you going out of your way just to like shit on this dude? Like, it never comes back. Is it just to show they're amateurs?
Maybe,
Like,
yeah, like they don't really know what they're in for or what they're doing. I don't know. But
I don't, like I said, there's a lot of like weird things in this movie where you're just like, what? You
Yeah.
know, like,
anyway, it's one of those movies that like it has so much hype around it. Like you definitely need to watch it. But the more you watch it, it loses some of its luster. Like we said, first time we watched it, both of us, it was like, Jesus Christ, that movie was something. Second time, it's
So
like,
let me-
all right.
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me put you in that scenario.
All right.
You're investigating something in the woods. It doesn't have to be this witch stuff. It
Okay.
can be anything.
Anything.
Let's say you're like going to like a Civil War site or whatever, to where they had a battle or whatever.
Uh-huh.
You know, take the supernatural out of it.
Yeah.
And you get there, you're like, cool. You get turned around, lose your map, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And you know, you wake up, it's day 3, and you're like hauling around all this equipment stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Like, what is your plan of attack? You have a compass, but you have no map.
Well, first problem I would need to solve is learn how to read a compass.
Oh my god.
Second problem, I don't know. Like I said, if I could find my way back and to where we came in at, and like there was a tree over the log, like I'm still crossing that river. Like, yeah, if Maverick was here, if he wasn't dead, unfortunately, he could tell you,
Right.
like, we've been in instances where a body of water has blocked off our path, and I don't see any other way, and I go, we're going. Just go.
It's really awkward to me that they wouldn't ditch the 50 pounds of gear.
Yeah, like, yeah. There's a part where they wake up and all their bags are gone. They're like, oh, man. I'm like, that. They did you a favor, whoever took your bags. Like,
Yeah, like, they had flashlights and stuff. I wouldn't make camp.
yeah.
I'm sorry, if I have to be at work the next day or whatever, I'm not going to be like, let's get some good shut-eye.
Uh-huh.
No, it's like, hey, you got a flashlight? Cool, well, let's keep going.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Make a torch.
Same thing,
Like,
yeah.
to make
Like,
fire.
they have the cameras with them, too. I get, like, what the main girl says, like, it's all she has left is making this movie, and it's all this stuff. But I'm like, man, at one point, I'm just going to throw my fucking camera down. Like,
Yeah.
But
Smash the camera against a tree. It's like, now you have nothing left.
yeah, like,
you know?
we haven't talked about maybe the second most famous scene, because I think the most famous scene is like him facing the corner, but her doing her like last, yeah, I'm so sorry, and like, you know, it's cool.
First time watching that, I was like getting teary eyed. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
man, this is great.
It's-
I was watching it this time and I was like, blow your nose.
It's not as leaky as I remember it being. It wasn't as bad, but
But the second time, like,
yeah,
she leans forward and comes back up, and it's like real
Yeah.
bad. But it adds to that really.
I remember
get it.
thinking that was the end of the movie. Not watching it this time, but when I watched the movie the first time, I thought the end of the movie was her doing that. And then I thought she like got dragged away or something. But that's not the end of the movie. There's still like 20 minutes after she does that. Which I told you at work earlier that there's a part after they do the thing with the kids laughing and like them knocking on the tents or whatever. I remember thinking, man, this movie is pretty close to being done. It still had another 40 minutes or something. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And that, like, after the whole thing with the kids on the tent, it drags on, like, really slow for me. And, like, I honestly, I would rather watch the parts in the town and then them getting into the woods for the first time than the stuff after the kids. It's after the kids, and then it's like 15 minutes till Josh goes missing again. And then it's still even kind of boring after he goes missing, which, you know, I don't know, that's just me.
They kept in so much of them arguing and bickering, and I'm like, I hate arguing. Like, I love to argue, but like pointless arguing, right? I'm like, okay, guys, yeah, the map's lost. Just get over it, right? Like, and they keep bringing it up. They keep bringing it up like all the time, and I'm like,
yeah,
just let it go. Like none of this is gonna help you. Like, just fucking figure it out. But I don't know. I think Mike was the worst one though, because he'd be like even keel and like normal.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what's
God
up,
damn
man?
it.
Yeah, and then he would just
Mike was something. He was probably my favorite character out of the whole movie though, just because of how like insane he was the whole time.
There's only 3 characters, and as long as Josh wore that stupid like tiger fang necklace,
Yeah, like
he was never going to be my favorite character.
Yeah.
So
they're talking about like
He just-
being ship captains at one point, and randomly he's like, "All right, children, it's a skipper,"
Yeah.
and they all laugh, and I was like,
I
That's one of those instances where you can really tell that all this was improvised,
yeah.
and like that was genuinely just them laughing at that stupid joke.
It's I don't know. Like I said, I think Mike was cool. I think the lady was cool. I just think Josh was bad.
Josh was probably the weakest link of this movie.
And I think if you had a stronger Josh, even though that's the name of the guy, not like the character or whatever, but if you had a stronger whatever he was supposed to be,
Yeah.
like, you know, it would have been such a better thing. But, you know, it's hard to argue with a movie that made $300 million. Right?
Yeah, right? Like, we can say all we want. It's like, this movie fucking crushed everything.
Yeah, it crushed. So it's like, everything we're picking on here, it's like, well, yeah, it might have made it a little bit
Yeah,
better,
it's like, it's easy to say that now.
It did pretty good,
but,
you know?
Yeah.
It did all right.
Yeah.
It's eating.
Yeah, it's
So.
eating well, yeah. But, yeah, so, yeah, you know, it's, it definitely, I mean, it's worked its way into the history books. Like, even if you've never seen it, you know the name, like, Blair Witch Project, you know? And even if you've never seen it, I guarantee you, if someone says Blair Witch Project, first thing that pops in your mind is guy in the corner or the lady filming her face. And, like, it has those iconic moments.
I'm going to say it's probably the most famous horror movie ever made.
Oh, you think? I think The Exorcist is probably number 1.
Nah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Blair Witch probably... It was such a phenom or whatever, that, like, even people who didn't watch horror movies were watching it, right? So, I don't know. Like, that's a bold statement. I mean, plenty of these movies make tons of money. But I think Blair Witch was so out there. I mean, it created a whole genre of movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to compare this to with, like, you know, the first slasher film or the first, you know.
Keep in mind, it's like, what?
Like, you know, M. Night Shyamalan got the twist, and then they went crazy with it with, like, Saw and everything else. Oh, that might be a little spoiler. But anyways, you know, there's always, like, a little, like, you know, when you define a genre or create it, then you got to be one of the top dogs.
Yeah, real quick, just, hey, warning, spoiler for Saw, okay? I'm going to talk about some Saw stuff real fast. I'll tell you when it's over.
Tell us what you saw.
But can you imagine if you watch Saw for the first time and you probably know, like, the old dudes, the Jigsaw or whatever, and if you watch Saw for the first time, you're like, he's late. Why is he just laying on the ground? And, like, I know he has, like, a prosthetic, but I think if you watch it back, you can totally tell it's him. Well, obviously, because you know it's him, but, you know. But I just like to imagine some people are like, why is Jigsaw on the ground? And later he takes off his thing, and he's like, yeah. I knew that was you. Anyway, hey, end of spoilers for Saw.
I don't know if you should put that in.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I
agree with
gave him
everything
the
you're saying.
warning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much else I could do.
I don't know, but it's like, I don't know, this found footage is really good. Like, we've done a couple found footage movies now.
I
Dark
don't-
Tapes.
Yeah, like Dark
What's
Tapes, I
that?
guess, is found footage. Keep him.
That one that we watched and did an overtime with. You picked it.
Oh yeah, fucking.
Hospital.
We did a regular show and an overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's Grave Encounters.
Yeah.
Grave Encounters. I still like that fucking first movie. I think that was a solid movie.
They're all good. They're all jump scare, like.
Willow Creek, that was a found footage.
I mean, Willow Creek, it was better than Blair Witch.
Oh, goddamn.
It's decided. I looked it up online.
Oh
98%.
yeah, they decided.
98% of people agree with me.
Yeah. Also keep in mind, is like a lot of people, like I said, credit Cannibal Holocaust for this found footage, but keep in mind, it's not really found footage. Like the last 30 minutes of that movie is found footage. The rest of it's just a movie. So like, I don't know what the first movie is that the whole movie is just found footage. Like it's all just a camera.
Well, so we're leaving out a big player in the game.
What's that?
But okay, so Blair Witch, found footage, great movie, right?
Uh-huh,
Did really
yeah.
well. Want to say Paranormal Activity blew it out the fucking water though.
I know.
Like money and everything. Like
I know Paranormal Activity did really well. I don't know. If
I mean,
it-
they made 6 of them, so it
well,
had
yeah,
to do.
but here, let's see. So, get out of here. All right, here we go. 2007, man. This came out.
8 years after it.
Yeah. All right, so budget. So according to this, it was cheaper to make. This is all just so obviously I could look into it, but $15,000, and then it made 193 million.
So it didn't make more money, but profit wise, like the amount it made ratio it's got to be more, right? Because it was a fifth of it to make.
Now, it did have a lot of sequels, but we all know that Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 is the superior sequel of all these movies.
I know Paranormal Activity 2 got me good too, but
I
anyways,
can't-
this isn't Paranormal Activity.
We'll get into that whole
Yeah.
series eventually. But all right, well, got anything else you want to talk about with Blair Witch?
I don't know. I mean, all I have to tell all of our loving fans and non-loving fans, even the ones I don't like, just read a simple like wood survival book. Learn how to use a compass. Like I feel like if any of these people had any common sense, they would have gotten out of everything. Like, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
They obviously made a fire, right? They could have a fire.
Yeah, they made a big.
Why did they not make one ever again after that? I know the first night they were like, we don't want people to see where we are, and I was like, okay, cool, I get that. From that point on, though, it was like, have 7 fires. Like,
well, yeah,
circle
because
your
they
camp
do
and
the
fire.
thing where they're like, oh, every night we've had a fire, stuff's happened, so now let's not make a fire. And they're like, okay.
And then-
but then shit happens that night. So then after that point, you're like, all right, time to make all the fires.
Yeah.
Like, I'd light
Let's burn this
the forest
down.
up. Yeah. And then, like, helicopters are going to start coming. Now, obviously, you have to beat the fire, but...
Yeah. I would find the little voodoo doll things they have, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
I'd use those for kindling. I was like, free firewood. I'd throw them in the fire. I'd be like, come at me,
fucking
bitch.
witch is like, no, that's not...
This is my home.
yeah.
But like I don't like I said, it's all, I mean, but this is all retro, like after the fact, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't, you put anyone, like, we talk a good game, but if we're in that situation, we would just be like, I pooped myself.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't even be out of the car. Like, we'd still be out. So,
yeah.
I don't, like, we're talking a lot of shit. This movie, like, changed history, cinematography wise, right?
Yeah.
Like, it paved the way for a lot of great movies. and bad movies.
And bad, but yeah,
So,
trust me, because it's very
yeah.
easy to make found footage. You know, you get a camera, go out, make found footage. So it spawned a lot of good, a lot of bad. Some ugly.
But you know, we're reviewing it, so maybe we bring more critical or praiseworthy than we should be. But all in all, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Blair Witch Project. This is the part where we would tell you what the movie next week's gonna be, but I messaged Maverick. I asked him if he had a movie picked. He said nah. I said
So do you pick one?
I don't know. Well, I can give him. I always give people whenever people don't have it. I edit these. Spoiler, little inside. This will be done edited. Yeah, this will be like Wednesday. I'll start editing, and that's when I need an answer. So if there's not a pick by Wednesday, then I'll probably just pick a movie, which I know what I'm gonna pick. But so next week, it'll be right here, whatever it is, regardless if it's Mavericks or me. So look forward to that. Maverick couldn't think of one to pick this week, so it's going to my pick. So next week we're watching the Hellraiser, the OG Hellraiser. I don't have the year with me right now, but next week, Hellraiser. There you go. Just played.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even see
I
it.
know, it's pretty wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But and thanks Mama Bone.
Yeah, that was good. Well, I don't
So-
think. Well, she won't watch my pick, but she might watch Mavericks if Maverick picks one. Anyway, hey, shout out to anyone watching the Return of the Living Dead podcast. That thing jumped up a lot of views. That movie. It's the greatest movie of all time. So I'm glad that people will.
Oh, you got to fix that comment thing too.
I gotta fix
I don't know
what?
if you did it already. How?
Oh yeah. Shout out. Someone commented.
I
I don't. If you're watching this, because I think you subscribed, it like commented, but then it deleted it because you like said pedophile or some shit. So sorry about that.
That's so out of context. Like you make it sound so horrible. One of the actors in the movie
Apparently was a pedophile in real life. Yeah.
And because you use that terminology,
YouTube was like.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry about that. If you're watching this,
I don't know why YouTube sounds like that.
I don't know. It's fun to pick on YouTube. Sponsor us, YouTube. Can you get sponsored by YouTube?
I don't know, but this podcast is brought to us by Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper.
Authentic blend of 23 flavors.
Brought to you by Stella Artois. Imported lager beer.
I like to think we got a sponsor. You can't even pronounce the fucking name.
I always say Artois. I don't think that's really how you say it, though. It's Belgium.
We're gonna try to do an overtime.
Oh yeah,
I just don't know
it's
what
been a
we're
while
gonna
since
try.
we've done an overtime. We got a couple that we've been meaning to do.
I mean, we're both off today. And
Yeah, we could probably get a little cheeky movie.
I don't know what. So
We'll talk about it. All right.
Yep.
So next week, whatever played earlier, we'll try to get an overtime out. Don't know what it could be, but hey, it'll be here sometime.
Oh, I need to say something real
All
fast.
right.
I have ran out of movies to pick.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm just like looking up stuff and looking for whatever. If anyone has a suggestion,
Tyler is begging, please suggest.
yeah, I'll look through them and I'll do my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so help me out. Help me help you.
Yeah.
Or if there's just a crazy movie that you watched and you think we need to watch it. So I have no problems wasting my pick.
Yeah.
Pig.
Hey, I might be wasting my next pick. Ooh. Stuff, man. Anyways, all right. Next week, whatever, and we'll see you then.
Toodaloo.